back. Today's topic is Google Firebase Real-Time Database. How to enforce database rules on database. Let's go to here. Here this is the structure of the book movie ticket database, and at each level we can enforce the database rules. So let's see how to give rules at each location. Let's go to the rules. If you don't edit these rules, the default is auth not equal to null read and auth not equal to null write. So Firebase rules provides us these rule types, that is read and write and validate. Validate is to validate the data at that location. So default validate is true. So by default, the users authenticated with the Firebase will have access to this database, that is auth not equal to null. So we'll test this now. I'm running this. See, read is not allowed because I am not authenticated here. Then write will not be allowed because I am not authenticated. I am not on this authenticated. If I authenticated on, I give some user ID. So now it is allowed. To give access to everyone, that is true. This means whether user authenticated or not, you can access or read or write access to this database. Now check it. So now this is allowed. Now the next structure is the same structure. We need to give the rules, and at that location we define the rules. So the structure is app users UID. I am going to define the rule set app users UID. App users UID. And that UID is wildcard parameters. We can represent all UIDs under app users UID as a wildcard parameters. That is, that parameter is we need to give as a dollar and then name. Who can access this? Only read access to. User can access his own data. So I am giving this auth UID. That means current user is accessing UID parent, that user UID parent. If he is accessing that user UID parent, he is access, or customer care will have access. Root child customer care UIDs dot child UID, not UID, auth UID. Currently logged in user is customer care, that is currently logged in user, it comes to auth UID. That should be fine now. So who can access this app users UID? All users under app users UID I represent as a $UID, and when user logged in, he can access his own data, that is the UID should be equal to the that parent of that UID he can access, or customer care can access all users details, so he can access all the parents of under the app users UID. So that is, if customer care, I am validating because that UID currently logged in user must exist in the customer care UID, then only he is a valid customer care UID. So that is the rule. So I am publishing it. So let's give it unexpected end of the expression. Auth UID equal to, that is when I am trying to access app users UID, say read is allowed, because this rules at parent level take the precedence and ignores the read rules defined at child level. So let's not have this. So we need to define the structure based on the database structure. If we want to define give access at root level, we have to give these rules here. So here I am not going to access by the root and by the app users UID app. So I am listening at, if I add listener at app users UID, it will not work here because I am not defined rules at this parent level. So at this requirement I am not going to check. I want to check it right now. I want to check it. This UID will have access to that user or customer care. So I am not defining it. So I am giving that one user. I am authenticating now. This should not allow. See, denied. So that has to be UID or customer care UID. So I am authenticated. Let's give customer care UID. Read denied. This is not AND. Okay, next. See, it is allowed now. If I give some other which is not exist in customer care UID, that is read is denied. So let's not. Okay. Then I need to check whether that user have access or not. I am reading the parent UID of this, and that user should have access. When this user logged in, he should have access to his own data. So this is read is allowed. So that's all about read. We can give the right. So app users UID, no one will have access, write access, only read access to customer care UIDs, and this users will be added by the system. In security, predefined variables, and predefined variables Firebase provides us to define the security rules. So the now gives the current timestamp. Root, by root we can access the root. So root child, like that, root. Under the child we want to access root, and child, like that we can access new data, newly inserted data snapshot will comes to this new data, and existing data snapshot of that child will be on this data. And will call parameters we define through this variable $variables. So when data is not fixed, it varies when app is running. So we represent all the childs with the will call parameter, that variables, delta variables. And auth, the currently logged in user details, we can get it in this security rules auth, and we can get the which provider is logged in, and we can get the UID of the user. So that is, and this says this. So rule is not a filter. So I define the record read true at record 1, and read 2 at read is false at record 2. So anyway I read the record, so that only I get the record 1. So that is not, it will not allow you to do that. So anyway it is not giving record 2 because read is false. So why I should read at record 1? So if I add a listener at records, and I get only record 1. So let's add listener at record, so that I can get only record once. That is not, doesn't work. So rules are not filters here. So since security is defined, we can't access the data based on the records. And this is what this says. When you add a listener at the records, it don't give anything, and this on data change will not be called. But when you access by specific path, yes, we can get it. Next is this rule is, see, we already explained that. Look at here. When you add a child with the widget, that should have the two key value pairs, that is size and value, color and value. So we should not add the widget without the size and color. So there is no meaning if you don't have the size and color. I am defining that this widget, whenever the widget is added, it must have the size and color. So for that restricting, that I am validating that this has children's of color and size or not. And this rules I need to define this. And I'm taking that. I'm accessing writing widget something I'm doing. Let's not authenticate. And one more is See, this is write denied because I am not given any size or color. So I am giving the size, some value 10. Still it gives the error because color I am not given. Okay, this is not valid. Write denied because color I am not given. So I am giving the color now. Still it doesn't work because this validation is not, I am not defined the structure or this is my database structure. I am not defined the valid colors and is checking that valid colors it has or not. So I will make this is true. I will make this always true for the time being. Now should be allowed. See, this is write allowed. And this size, it should be the number always. If it is string, we don't allow. See, this validation is failed when you give the number like this, string. And when you give the number minus 2 something, it will be failed. See, that is denied. And when I give the 2, then it will work. So this is the checking whether it has the child's colors and size, and each size and color it is again checking for that, validating the data. So this is the way it works. I just got this. These are all explains for that. This is true that this is widget and title validate true. So always allows, there is no condition. Color always allows, but other, this is wildcard parameter. So any child under this widget can be anything other than title and color. This validate is false. So this validate is always false. When you add any child, the name other than title color, it comes to, this is matches, so it comes, it's false, so it will not allow any child other than title color. That means that the widget can have only these parameters, title and color, no other parameter should have. So this is the way to define the security rule for that requirement. Structure in your database. So this defining the structure, so we need to keep in mind that, so how we are going to define the security rule. So based on that and that requirement, and then we need to structure the data. So we need to keep in mind in the both requirement of database structure and also defining the security rules. So keep in mind the security rule and define the structure. So once you understood all given whatever explained, and then this go through this video and he explained with the better example, that is game example. So this example is best for understanding the defining the structure and security rule, and how security rules is depend on the how data is structured. So while designing the data, and we need to keep in mind with the security rules, what are the users, who has access to what, and accordingly we need to change the structure of the data and the rules. So these are tied together. So that he explained very well with the game, taking the game as example. So please go through that. And once you have gone through this and that video, and you must be positioned to have a very much enough knowledge about this database rules. And this is the end of the session.